Today, I wanted to go over just a part of the auto policy and the underinsured and uninsured portion of your auto policy and why it's important to make sure that you have plenty of coverage in that area. So I just wanted to, a lot of people are obviously trying to save money everywhere, and insurance is no exception. So when it comes to your under and underinsured or underinsured, a lot of people say they don't need as much coverage there this to save some money. I would recommend though that the part of the auto policy that is actually pays you is that portion. So that's probably a part I would necessarily wouldn't skimp on. And what I'm talking about is this. So your auto policy is going to have bodily injury, which is for other people if you caused an accident. It's also going to be for property damage. It's also going to be for whether or not you pay deductibles. But the uninsured and the underinsured is actually for you if you were hit by a driver with no insurance, to make sure that any injuries that you may have are covered. The next one's going to be if, for example, you got hit by somebody they did have insurance but have extremely low limits, like let's say the state limit. So in Arizona, it's 25,000 per person or 50,000 for multiple people per incident. So what that realistically means is if you were hit somebody by that had, let's say, that state minimum coverage of 25,000, you were the only one in the car, you had an ambulance ride, because you were hurt, got checked out in the ER department. Then let's say you had to stay a couple overnight. Let's say that bill could be roughly $100,000. Well, your insurance company is going to try to fight for you to get that money, but more than likely, if somebody's carrying state minimum coverage at that 25,000, they just don't have it. So what happens in that retrospect is that set, let's say the bill was 100 grand even, the other company pays 25. Well, you have $75,000 now that's not left over. So if you do not, let's say you just carrying the minimum on underinsured or have none, you're going to be left responsible for that additional $75,000. So now if you had enough coverage, let's say you had what they call 100,000 per person or 300,000 per incident. Now you'd have $100,000 there total. The other insurance company would pay 25 and we would pay 75,000. Now, when you look at your overall cost of an auto insurance policy, and underinsured is not the most expensive part of the policy. The most expensive part of the policy is bodily injury when we cause bodily injury to somebody else in an accident. It's called an accident. None of us go out there and go, man, I hope we hit somebody today. We want to go wreck somebody. But no, accidents do happen. So if we injure somebody, we want to make sure they're taken care of. Right? Same thing with uninsured and underinsured. We want to make sure you are taken care of. Not everybody is going to carry what we call proper limits. Some are going to try to, not pay as much in insurance. And I understand, it's budget for everything, right? So, but a lot of times people need to take a look at, well, maybe I don't need the fastest car on earth. Maybe I need a car that I can afford along with proper insurance. And it's the same thing with uninsured and underinsured. There are a lot of other ways to possibly save on your auto policy, like raising deductibles. If you haven't had a claim or you haven't been in an accident forever, why do you have a deductible at $250 or $500? Why are you not raising that deductible? Because that's what you're paying for a lot there is a deductible on there. So you have less out of pocket in case you do have an accident or you do have to fix your car or there was hail or something to that effect, wind hurt your car or whatever it may be. So just make sure we take a look at that and underinsured. Now, typically, you can't have it. You're not going to be able to have it higher than what you have for bodily injury. So if your bodily injury is 100,000 per person, or 100,000 for one person, or 300,000 total incident, the max underinsured you can have is 100 for one person, or 300,000 for multiples. Same type of thing. So you can't have any higher than that. You can't go lower, and that's where a lot of people do in order to save some money on their auto policy. But I'd highly recommend making sure that you can take care of yourself. It's the only thing in the policy that actually takes care of you besides some additionals like, rental car reimbursement or glass replacement at no cost and things of that nature. So just wanted to make sure you're aware of why uninsured and underinsured is so important, and that it is actually the part of the auto policy that pays you. So I wanted to thank you for joining me on this episode of Doing Insurance Right. As always, if you could rate, review, or subscribe to whatever platform you're listening on, whether it be Spotify, Stitcher, Apple, Google, all the great podcasting platforms out there, I greatly appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode.